Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Revenue Lounge. I am your host, Randy Likas. Today we're going to talk about the evolving role of the sales development organization. Why is this important? It's one of the most highly debated topics internally at organizations today. What worked just a couple of years ago isn't providing the same returns as it is today. Yet building top of funnel pipeline is critical for nearly every organization. So how is this role evolving? Is it still about call and email volume and meeting set? Is it about loading 25 to 50 people into a sequence with pre-built content and automated steps? Or is there a better way to connect that's more authentic? And if so, how does that impact the KPIs and the metrics for not only the individual SDRs and BDRs, but the expectations of the sales development function itself? And today I'm excited to be joined by Kelly Lichtenberger. Kelly is the VP of Sales Development at HiBob, where she leads a global team of 60 plus BDRs. She's got a wealth of experience leading high-performing sales development, marketing, and inside sales organizations over her career. And she's also the author of a book, Prospect Like a Girl, Winning in Sales Using Your Emotional Intelligence Over Artificial Intelligence. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk about this. These are important topics.
They really are. And I think given your background and mine, we're going to have a really rich discussion. But I usually like to start the episodes by just asking a little bit about yourself. So maybe you can walk us through maybe your background, your career journey, and your current role at HiBob.
You got it. So I'll date myself a little bit in this conversation. I started my career as an SDR in the technology space. And where I say I'll date myself is when I started my career, we did not have this World Wide Web. There was no Google. There was no AI, obviously. None of those things existed. We literally had a phone book, or if I was driving down a highway and saw a sign on a building that I hadn't noticed before, I would try to look up how to call them. And so that's where I started my career. When internet was introduced, I quickly saw that there was an opportunity for the price of software started to drop, applications, and I thought, there may be a play here that I could continue and build upon doing things from inside versus all of the field reps. All my friends wanted to go out and be field reps. I think there might be a play, and there was. And so the tide quickly turned, and I continued with it, and I loved it, and I stayed with it. I had my own outsourcing company for technology companies at one point, and when I sold that, I did some consulting. And when I have found companies that I really find something that I think is powerful, could change an industry, if I've had the opportunity to join them, I have. Which leads me all the way up to today, which happened with HiBob. So hadn't been in the HR space, but they are doing some amazing things, how they are leading and using the latest and greatest with technology to really build upon all different things in this space and believe in SDRs. I had to join. And so here I am today. So still working in the SDR world, just from a different angle.
I was shaking my head and agreeing with you because I'm dating myself as well. But my first job out of college was 100% phone-based. We didn't have computers. We didn't have email addresses. We had a shoebox full of index cards with a bunch of names written on them, right? And you'd make the call and you'd put that card to the back of the box. And It's just amazing how things have advanced. In some ways, it's a lot easier now. And in some ways, it's a lot harder now, right? And the world's just much different. So I wanted to dive into a question around, a friend of mine, Mark Cosaglow, coined this term that we're now in this era of the great ignore. And the great ignore is, if you think about the past couple of years, maybe just around COVID or after COVID, the misuse of the sales development platforms where they were used as these spam cannons with all these generic messages and these automated messages, and it's created a lot of fatigue to our prospects and our buyers, right? And they can see what is a irrelevant or generic message a mile away and apply their mental spam filter in their inbox and say, not relevant, not going to open it, delete, delete, delete. So it's really hard, right, to get attention. And the sales development role is a very difficult one because of that. We'd be curious to just get your views in terms of adopting different strategies maybe to overcome this fatigue or great ignore era that we're in.
You got it. So there's a lot of things. COVID, of course, even added to it. So before COVID, you were looking at maybe up to 11 touches to get to somebody that you were trying to get a hold of. Right after COVID, it went up to about 18, and now you could say it's somewhere just from an SDR side in the neighborhood of 25 to 27 touches. And why that is because people don't work in the office anymore, or it's hybrid, so what number works? How are they reviewing their emails? What tools are they using? How are we presenting ourselves, the message? And now so many people use their phone all the time. So you have to make sure whatever's on there, that's what they're seeing first. As far as subject lines or even transcribing a voicemail. So you really have to be thoughtful of that. As far as the fatigue, anything in life, take professional out of it. If you just keep doing the same thing over and over and getting zero results, definition of insanity, it's heavy. It wears you down. So the thing that I tell people now is it may not be that I have the exact answer with my team. I wish I did. I mean, that would be a different thing. But what it is now is don't stay with the same thing. If it's not working, change it up.
Yep.
Try new things. It's personalization. It's going back where, again, a few years ago, it was like LinkedIn's dying. Now a lot of people go to it because they don't want their emails filled up. And the number one thing that I say to everybody is please keep saying the phone call is dead because I will get through.
Right.
That's where I win. But it's a skill set. It's not the phone call that I used to give where it's all feature functionality. And I know people say that, but man, do I hear a lot of calls that go there. Do I see the voicemail transcribed, all feature functionality? I don't want that. So this is about elevating your game. Also knowing that the prospect knows a lot of information before they ever get to you.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not that they're just ignoring. Why the touches are so high is you could be getting to them, but they're going to come when they really want to either see or get some pricing, or they have a specific agenda in play when they get back with you. And you have to be ready to go with it too, because you may not have the time that you did before to really discover that pain. You may have to jump into meeting them where they're at. So how do you become interested and not interesting? I don't know why, but I get a lot of people that still feel like they've got to push their agenda as the sales rep versus listening to the other side. And yep, that's a heavy lift because I'm telling you, you're going to get more people to go away than you are going to enter the door at that point.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think I'll just double click on the point of meeting them where they are. Look, not everybody's going to be in market. We know that, right? It's only a subsection. And I think the most skilled BDRs, AEs recognize that. What they want to do is they want to just start building a relationship, right? Creating a little bit of curiosity, giving them maybe some content that, hey, I saw you downloaded a white paper or attended a webinar. Here's some things that we didn't cover, that have time to cover that you might be interested in. Just building a little bit of that value so that if and when they are in market, you've got that digital relationship with them. Maybe you've spoken with them a little bit before, as opposed to trying to shove everything out in that first touch.
For some reason, people forget that no is as powerful as yes. I say to people, yes is amazing. No is still fantastic. Where you don't want to live is in the world of maybe.
Yep.
Maybe is what kills the deal.
Yes.
You haven't gotten to the right place. You don't really know what the pain is. You don't know where to go. It's okay for them to want information, and you just send them information.
Yeah.
That's not always going away if, again, you've built the right connection with them as far as what they want to see. You'll lose them on sending information if you're just blind sending them anything. It has to be something, and then you have to have your next steps. And it's also okay to ask them, while I'm doing this with you, is there anyone else in your organization that I can be speaking with to help build influence so when you are ready to talk more, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
We don't have to have it all wrapped up with a bow right then and then put a meeting and a demo, and it doesn't have to all happen like that.
100%. Yep. So I think there's a lot of organizations are struggling right now because the results that they were getting 24 months ago aren't the same today. It's much harder. And so they're asking their reps, we got to do more, right? We've got to make more calls. We've got to send more emails. And that's like their go-to strategy, but that's hitting a bit of a diminishing returns. I'm curious, what are you doing at HiBob, and what are you coaching your team on doing to maybe shift away from that mindset?
So we look at doing more with more. So there's more opportunities with tools that can actually give you time back. So I hear a lot of times about the number of tools that people have. That's also a lot, and then they're using all of these things. But again, there's AI that's now tied into a lot of that. So it's how, instead of just saying the word, you're really bringing that back into the process. So what is available to me to save time in my day So then I can do more of the personalization, take time to build more of that relationship. That's what I would say to anybody. It's not about just hitting the phones hard. I believe in the phone. I know there's a certain number of activities when you're getting started just to get that pipeline built. But this is about quality over quantity. Correct. So it can feel at first when you're first doing this and setting this up that it is diminishing returns. You're not getting the ROI from the team. But SDRs, BDRs are just like a field team. You have to have those number of touches to build your own pipeline to get people to call back. So it doesn't happen overnight. Nobody is sitting around with just money to, they used to say at the end of the year and they'll have to spend that budget. Nobody's sitting around with this money that they have to spend. Those days are gone. But if the pain really is great enough, they'll find the budget. But you have to work through what that is. They may not have all of the information that's needed. They think they might on a certain tool. But that's where the personalization is. That's where it's going to take a little bit more time to really dissect what they're using, how you can help, and not go again into the feature functionality, but really turn it back on them, which it could go different directions. But my point is, you're always going to now have to look at what is my day. So before we even look into all of these tools, the AI, all of that, how does my day get set up? Where am I spending my time? Where are some results coming from? Where are they not? And then get really prescriptive with what we need to do moving forward. And that in itself takes a little time, but if you do that and you set that up, and then again, you're not afraid to throw it all out the window if it's not working and try something new, you're good. Again, people will get there, everything's set up, they will never change it, and then they will say, well, why didn't that work? Because you never changed it and never looked into what is working, what is not working.
Right. You talked about the personalization, and I've heard you speak in another podcast about video, which I think is personalization, it's creativity. Right. So what are some examples that you're coaching your team on to personalize their outreach?
Absolutely. So I think there's, again, where I think, people were talking about different things with LinkedIn before being dried up. There's a whole new play there, and there's some things you can do within Sales Navigator and really looking at people when they move around to different companies and really seeing what they've spoken about, what they're putting out into the universe. There's all kinds of things you can do to get personalized there now. Yeah. Again, video, just a quick hit to get people to open up. Again, if people have their phone, you have to think about how they're consuming data that they get. So messages and what they're seeing. If it's a press play, that's kind of intriguing. I may open that. I don't see what that is on my phone without hitting play. So it's just what keeps me going to the next thing before hitting delete. And sometimes in a day, it's just nice not to look at words, hit the play, to hit the video. And I also look at life as far as how people are in their personal life looking at information. So back in the day when I was even involved with high definition video conferencing had just come out, and that's what my company had. We were in the forefront. It was great, but other competitors didn't think we needed it. Well, guess what? They found out real quick when my TV now went to HD, I wasn't going to watch a video at work if it wasn't in HD. So it changed really quick. So our world today is changing really quick, and I look at how do people consume data today. Whether you like it or not, say you use it or not, when people talk about TikTok and they're looking at all those quick videos, if that's how you're consuming information, whether I believe in that or not, I want to at least give that a shot to see who else is taking in their information that way.
Yeah. So the videos or the voice messages or the MBB it's encouraging to use some creativity. Yet I think in the past, most organizations were thinking like, here's your prescribed set of sequences with your messaging for each persona. It used to be the Wild Wild West where people would create their own. The problem with that is how do you measure what's working and what's not if everybody's doing their own thing, right? So how do you think about that, like in the design of a cadence, if you will? Is that part of like, hey, spend some time, do the research, get creative? Like that's step one. That'd be the first question. There's sort of a two-part question.
I think there's an A/B testing on that. So I think you can still be prescriptive with your sequences now because the pendulum did swing. Even at HiBob, we've had to swing it back because you can go so crazy. And how many sequences are you going to really have out there without understanding what's working, what's not? So you can have your sequences, get to where you're really looking at, okay, what message is hitting and working with marketing on that, great. But you can do the one-offs. That's what this is. So when we're talking about some of this personalization, we're talking about some of these videos, again, we don't have to mass spray and pray on this info. Let me look at now, who do I want to methodically go after? Get the message that I think will land, and I win at the end of that. I mean, I really win when I get there. We also know that you need to multi-thread within a company. It's not just one or two. MedPick has a foundation where it has a C for champion. There's many champions you have to look for today. So you have to make sure that you're always thinking about the mass market and then the personalization. So that's where personalization for me is a one-to-one. And that's where I say you can do an A/B test on what's working for you. And if you find something that really is going, that we can make a sequence out of, because then that's a different story. We can go to look at how to do that and incorporate that into our existing sequences.
Yeah. I want to go back to something you said earlier, which is the amount of touches that it used to take, and now it's like 21, 25 touches. There's this, over what time period, over a 25 touch point sequence, if you will, generally, what does that look like? Is that over 30 days? Is that over 45 days?
Yeah, so I'm saying that for me is really looking at within about 45 days to not be too much in their face. But that's really what I look at.
Yeah. Okay.
On average.
And then, so that brings an interesting question, which is around capacity, right? Capacity of each individual person. How much work can they get done? Making sure that they stay on top of each step, because that stacking effect and the timeliness is so critically important. How do you think about, like, now that we've got so many more touches it requires to be able to get that meeting, how do you balance that with the capacity load of maybe of your team?
So again, that's where now tools come into play and having the right tools. So we use auto dialer, we have Orem. We're going to be able to hit many more calls with that than we would have doing the manual call before. So I can still set up my calls that were in my sequences very quickly in an afternoon in very little time to get through them. So it's really looking at the tool stack that you have that can help, again, more with more. How do I get through my day, do the same things I was doing, but actually be able to give time back for the things that are most important? Once again, the personalization, really know who I'm calling, really connect with what is the message at a C level may need versus a director level, maybe versus a manager or an actual user.
Have the KPIs changed for you over the past couple of years as far as number of emails, calls, touch points, or have the metrics stayed the same? It's just doing them a little bit differently.
Well, I'd say they've changed. They've come down because before it used to be about mass activity, right? Everything was about you have to have this many touches. I can go out there like I do to my team and say we're going to look to touch, say, 150 a day. That's a combination of calls and emails and LinkedIn and all your things. But if you're getting the job done in 30 and your calls just are a little longer, again, I'm not going to change that if it's working. Yeah. It's when it's not working that I'm going to change it. So it's looking at the individual too and where they're having success, where they're spending their day. The top reps also look at that. I didn't have that available. I couldn't see a report that said, if you call this state at this time in this industry within this segment size, I didn't have that. I got more calls in the morning today than I did yesterday. Yay, I'll try that again tomorrow. You were flying blind. Now I can see in my system all of my different tools, what's working, what time of day it's working, my top objections, from what levels. It leaves nothing that you should really, as a rep, if you don't know why you're not making it, it's because you don't know how actually to use your tools.
Yeah. Is it still about meetings set, or we're seeing a trend more where it's like contribution to pipeline, number of stakeholders you're able to add to an opportunity? Like each organization's a little bit different. How are you measuring it?
Sure. So we are doing meetings completed, but with a heavy component on what gets accepted into the pipeline. So that's where we're looking at the acceptance rate in the pipeline build to make sure that we're presenting quality. If it's too heavily focused just on pipeline, then what we find a lot of times is then the SDR is begging the AE to put the stuff in the pipeline, and then stuff's falling out of the pipeline as quickly as it's getting in. So it's really a measurement of, we want to open more doors, and the doors that are open, we want people to walk through and be lined up in the pipeline. So those are the measurements for us.
Got it. In your book, you talk about this idea of emotional intelligence over artificial intelligence, and you emphasize the importance of emotional intelligence in sales. So how does that philosophy apply to a BDR organization in today's noisy world?
Yeah, so I think more so it applies today because of the fact we're becoming a place of just all AI. AI is writing your messages, AI is transcribing everything for you. Again, the personalization can easily get lost. When I say be interested, not interesting, the number of times, again, we say don't do the feature functionality and people want to dive into it because they don't know how to have that human interaction, and that's what changes the game. The simplest things can open the doors. One of the simplest ways we can get through to people is asking them if they can help us. It's the easiest thing. Maybe you can help me. I'm trying to find the best person to talk to about human resources and the tools that are used within your organization. They may not have heard about what the help part is, where people may not want to, but they usually won't say no to helping somebody. So those are how you open the door. So I think it's really important to learn that skill set. So I say to everybody, one of the things that I talk about is back in the day, again, I'll be dating myself here, to get movies at home, we would go into a Blockbuster Video, we would rent the movie. That was great. When Blockbuster had the opportunity to get purchased by Netflix, they said no. They thought, we're locking it down. We've got everything we need here. They quickly learned they didn't. So by not evolving like Netflix did, they went out of business. But here's the thing. The key to this is we didn't stop watching movies. We just started consuming them different. We were still watching movies at home. It was just through a different type of media. That's where we're at. So the SDR role is still there. This is not about AI replacing you. It's that if you as a human don't learn how to work in those two worlds, that's where you're going to get replaced.
Yeah.
So it's taking all of the opportunity and the tools that are in place for AI to, again, give you back the time to be that real human and personalize more than ever.
Yep, I love that. I was, in preparing for our conversation, I was taking a look at some of the open positions that you have at HiBob and for your team. And one of the things that struck me was you'll hire people that don't have any experience, right? I think you're going to coach them into success. But I'm just curious, are there certain traits that you look for that lead to someone having more success?
Yeah, so I will give somebody a chance if they want to get into sales, but they're able to convince me, show me, explain to me that they understand what that means. So sales isn't just about the end of the day, just making all this money or Friday golf or none of those things. This is about working really, really hard. All of the things that we just said, trying new things, getting on the phone, really learning the phone. Even when you talk about an actual phone, so I have my iPhone in my hand. My iPhone, Apple doesn't even say this is a phone. This is an application device. So a lot of people coming into the industry now with sales, that's what they think of this as. They may have never even left a voicemail in their life. So when I ask that, they're just like, no, I would text somebody to say you didn't pick up my call. So it's teaching all of those things. But if they're able to let me know that they're willing to be coached into that and they want to work really hard to get there and what their why is, there's a good chance I could give them an opportunity.
Yeah. What about curiosity? How do you interview for someone who's curiosity or coachable? There's certain traits you probably look for as far as that.
Yeah, so again, in this world with all of the new technology, there's things I'm learning from some of the people that are new to their careers.
Yeah.
And so they're able to teach me more than I'm able to teach them on some of the new things. And that's great. So I want them to be able to communicate that with me. Show me what their curiosity is on the things that they're really skilled at. How could they bring this role into what they're really good at or ready and just become that much better?
So I wanted to ask you a little bit about this trend and movement that's going on inside of a lot of organizations where they look at the MQLs or individual leads that come in from organizations. And as we talked about earlier, decisions aren't made by one person. There's multiple people to different functions. And the role of an MQL isn't as strong as maybe it used to be. I think what's more important is the swarming effect maybe that's going on in an account, the inbound, the signals that are being shed, plus what we're able to get through our outbound and connecting those pieces together. And so people are moving more towards like a buying group motion where it's like, let's serve up everybody who we're seeing maybe shedding signal at the top of the funnel, whether they score up or not, right? Create these like shells opportunities, stage 0 value, where we're piping in the swarming of people. And then maybe also people that were involved in an evaluation last year that for whatever reason didn't close. And the idea here is we want to try to confirm from 2 or 3 different people that there might be something going on here as opposed to this MQL score. And so this idea of a buying group motion as opposed to individual lead motion, is that something that y'all have entertained at all?
I think, again, you have to look at what's working for your company, what's not. Because if you're looking at when MQLs come in and we want to get them through the journey as quickly as possible, it's all about speed to lead. So then you have to look at really what is our North Star. And if it's to get to pipeline, then you have to just be watching what's getting us to pipeline. Again, how many touches? And then you start working backwards. These type of businesses and this size and these segments, this title, you have to go right back. Again, just keep one plan across the board. You've got to try different things. And that's what we've been doing even within different segments within our organization. Multi-threading is super important. Again, back to where I was saying, it's not just one champion anymore. So you've got to go in multiple directions. The person coming in asking for the information just might be part of the buying process. But again, having no real say, no decision, but they started looking into it, but they can still give us influence. So it doesn't mean I don't want to talk to this person. We just, again, have to ask the right questions and make sure we're going in the right path. Before, it used to be one set of questions. You'd get a script when you started your role. I don't believe in any of that anymore. This is about showing up to the conversation and being real, stopping all the product knowledge, thinking I've got to get to the next question, to get to the next part, to get the... Absolutely not. This is meeting them where they are.
Yeah. The other thing I love that you had mentioned in that other episode that I had listened to was, like, on that first touch point, don't cram everything into that first message, right? Create some curiosity, create some interest, get your name in front of them, which I think is a change in mindset from what it used to be. So is that something that you're seeing as far as how are you measuring that, doing that as opposed to the other way, and what results have you seen differently?
Yeah, so again, that's where the relationship build comes in. And when you're not cramming down their throat about getting to the next step so fast, they'll respect that and come back. But again, it's coachable. You need to work with them on who's having success as far as what are the next steps. It's still not just okay, I'll just then start sending info. That's great. That's what she's saying to me right now. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that could be okay, but you have to set the appropriate follow-ups. And what does that mean if I'm going to get you this information? And when you're sending them emails, you want to say, can we just go to your email box right now? Let me send you a test and make sure my name comes up to the top of your email box. So in all of the noise that you know who I am and you're waiting for my information, these are the things we need to work on. That's what I'm saying as far as making sure that you're getting through to them and quickly.
Yep, that's wonderful. So I want to be cognizant of time, and I want to transition soon to our lightning round, which is a little bit more lighthearted and fun. But what question maybe haven't I asked or that I should have asked you about the evolving role of the sales development organization or the individual contributors that I should have?
Sure. So I think the one that I get hit with the most now is, again, about the SDRs being replaced by AI. And do I think that's coming? And so we should all be closing up shop here and moving on. And I will say the same thing happened again. People said the phone call is going to be dead. You would have thought that then. Again, AI is about adding to your skill set. And how to get more out of your day, not reducing it. So I do not believe that. I believe that it's evolving into a place where, once again, if you really put some stakes in the ground and start getting yourself really trained on messaging and what's coming, and again, that personalization, what's working, and know your stats, you're going to win. You're going to fly through where other people are really going to struggle. And then, yes, it's going to make it very easy for companies to say we no longer need this or that. But AI isn't there yet, and that's the other thing. It has to be trained like anything else. There's stories out there with agents, bots. People are getting tired of that too. They know pretty quickly already. So where they thought already by now we would be fully in bot land, that's not what's happening. I can say when I think about my own life, even on people thought it was going to change dramatically when you could ask questions online on the website. People didn't want to do that. What happens? They actually want a human. Oh, nobody wants to talk anymore on the phone, so we better add these chats. People don't use them. I don't want to wait around. I want my quick answers. I want to get it from somebody, know that it's the exact answer that I need, because I don't want to say something that's incorrect on a project that we're working on at my company.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I think in my prior life, I used to work at one of the leading sales development software companies, and it was incredible when you would look at where meetings were being booked. They're being booked on the phone. Everybody's talking about how the phone's dead. No, the phone works, right? And the goal, I think that's the thing, is like, the goal is in your outreach strategy is to get the phone call answered, right? Not to book it off the first touch. That could happen. It very rarely does. So wholeheartedly agree that I think AI has a place. It's got a productivity piece to it, but the human connection and getting somebody to live and hearing what they have to say, and it's never going to be replaced. I think the phone is still very much alive.
Yeah, and I think it's just interesting, again, I think it's a comfort zone place too, where people want to say, when something's not comfortable, it's easy just to say it doesn't work. Yeah. Because then I don't have to go spend time to actually learn it. Learning is hard, right? Yeah. So I got to learn a new skill, oh dear Lord. But once you do, it's like anything, it's really fun. Once it's in your comfort zone and you can just wake up and do it, it's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, last question before we transition to the lightning round. So I'm sure that you probably get a lot of outreach, just like I do, in people trying to connect with you. And the answer may be lie within some of the things that we talked about today, but I'm curious, what's the type of message that you get that creates that curiosity or maybe would get you to take a meeting?
Sure. So for me, again, it's when they're calling out something specific about me. If they've mentioned my book, if they've mentioned something about knowing somebody in my network, if they mention something about where I went to school, it grabs my attention really quick.
Yeah.
So then I'm more likely just to read through the information. Again, it's quick hits. So what am I seeing that's grabbing me that I think this person knows me?
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your book. So what was the genesis of writing the book?
So I've always thought about it a lot, again, going back through stages of my career, having my own business and then doing consulting for companies, putting a lot of myself out there, really presenting what would then become my book to a lot of companies in consulting and how to set up these teams. And I just kept putting it off like, do I really? How do you write a book? What's happening? And then I just got to a place that I thought, there were just some things in my life that I had a number in my mind, and here's the age, and if you're going to do it by then. And then I'm such a type A personality, I have to do what I set my mind to. So I said I was going to do it. So a few years back, I started doing it, and then it became an obsession. Like, the clock's ticking now. We're actually doing this and putting things together and writing and then rewriting and spending every waking second doing this and vacation and writing. And it took a few years, but I was able to check that box, and it feels pretty good. But now I have it. It's all of the things that really I have taught teams. I can look back now as a guide to show people what worked for me, how I've done things. And it was interesting to see some of the things that all these years later, again, they still actually work. Yeah. They just may have evolved a little bit, but it's that back to basics.
Yeah, 100%. What was the hardest part about writing the book?
Writing the book. So I think that really it's, you write down your thoughts, you're into a chapter, you're thinking about something, and then you let it go, and then it's, oh, I thought of something else, I should go back. And then you're basically rewriting as much as you are still writing. So that's the part, at some point you just have to say enough and you have to move on, or you'll get stuck in a spin cycle on a certain topic. So that was what was really hard, is just saying we're going to let that go for now and we're going to go on to something else.
Yeah. Having the benefit of hindsight, what might you have done differently?
I think if I was to think about what I would have done differently, I would have known that I needed to not have it be every waking moment. I probably would have charted everything out a little bit more. Like my topics, to really keep myself focused and give myself timelines on each topic. So I didn't keep going back and forth, because that did get me some extra time that it took me to get this finished.
And where can people find it?
You can find it on Amazon. It's right there for people, a Kindle version as well as the hard copy, or a company called BookBaby, or any of your sellers. You can, Walmart, anything, but really Amazon, it's there.
Fantastic. Okay, so other than your book, what's one book in maybe the recent past that you've read that's had an effect on your career, how you think differently, or favorite book?
Yeah, so I love Simon Sinek and follow him, and I love the Start With Why. I think that was really powerful. He's talking about the golden circle and really thinking about when you set up companies and teams and the why, and I thought that it was very eye-opening for me, and it's one that sticks with me.
I always love asking this question. What's the favorite part of leading sales development at a company like HiBob?
My absolute favorite thing is watching people start their careers and seeing them just blossom and get to move into other positions and watching that hard work pay off and seeing the smiles as their careers are taking off. It's really exciting.
Yeah. What about the flip side of that question? What's the least favorite part? Or I often ask it a little bit differently. What's really hard about your job?
I think the hardest part would be the same thing, watching people that really wanted it to work, but they get into it and it just might not be there. And they have to want it more than I want it for them.
Yeah.
So again, when people ask me what got you through each stage of your career, it's one answer. And the answer is working really, really hard. There's no shortcuts in this. You can, again, AI is here, so people may think that's a shortcut. At the end of the day, when I'm saying more is more, it's giving me more time to do more of these other things that are working. I am not cutting my day short. My day is still going to go. If there's an opportunity to outwork somebody just so I get ahead, I will. That's what this is. This is still a game of really and truly working as hard as you can.
Yeah. I think you probably answered the question, but I won't make the assumption. If someone were to want to have your job someday, lead a team, what advice would you give them?
I would tell them just to buckle up. Again, they're going to learn, they're going to work really hard, it's going to take away, they're going to have to be high performers, have to make sure they're really keeping in check the parts that come with high performing that can cause problems with your life outside of work, and making sure that you understand that if you get so far in the weeds, then you're tactical and not strategic, and then you won't get ahead. So how are you carving out time for that? And how with each role are you able to delegate? It's still all the same things that I still even have to work on with myself. And again, throughout your whole career, learning is important, right? So now what are these new things that take on, that working with new people and new generations, and how do I make sure that I'm actually giving them everything they need to be successful and not just saying this is how you do it?
Yeah. How do you decompress? How do you spend your time outside of work?
So I absolutely, travel is my favorite thing if I get time, but even just being the weekends, it's being with my nieces, my nephews, that's my thing. Watching them grow up and really investing time in seeing just their smiles. That's what's most important to me.
Yeah, I've got two small children, but I had children later in life, and my nieces and nephews were my world as well.
Yeah.
You spoke about travel. Where's been your favorite place to travel?
So I think I just love learning different cultures and people and foods, but I really love Italy. I have so many more places too to go within in Italy, but that's probably where I've been the most.
And what's on the bucket list? Where would you like to go next?
Actually looking at doing a safari next year. So that would be a really big one. I've looked at all the options. I have many options. I haven't pulled the trigger, and it's probably one of those travels that I haven't, because there's so many things to think about with that, because you don't get that opportunity so many times in life. So
yeah. Well, listen, Kelly, this was a really great conversation.
So much.
Great insights. I appreciate it. If people want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to find you?
You got it. So LinkedIn is always a great way. I'm right up on LinkedIn that people can reach out. I'm at kelly.lichtenberger at hibob.io. So always happy. I have a website, Prospect Like a Girl. So any of those ways they can get me.
Sounds great. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for your time. I enjoyed our conversation. Have a great rest of your day. And maybe the next time I'm out your area, we can grab a coffee or something.
That would be wonderful. I look forward to it.
All right. Take care.